No matter where or how you grew up in America, vending machines were probably a part of your life. For some, it's an everyday ritual to get a snack or a drink. For others, it's the forbidden box of indulgence that we would never dare to use but want so badly. Perhaps you're somewhere in the middle. But where did they come from? How have they affected our culture over time? Where can they go in the future? But most importantly, will its popularity be undermined by critics?
Welcome to Spoonable Standpoint, a podcast where your hosts Leo and Charlene dig into food culture. In this episode, we'll be discussing how vending machines have come to be and how they became as technologically advanced as they are now. Later, we'll discuss personal experiences as well as where they might go in the future. Are they doomed to fail? Could they evolve further? But first, how did they come to be?
Vending machines are, more often than not, considered to be filled with little bags of chips and other types of junk food like soda. Sure, maybe you'll find a fruit dispenser every now and then, but it's usually met with an eye roll because who wants a vending machine apple? But although it seems so trivial and silly, vending machines have an extremely interesting history.
We could start our history with ancient Greece, where a mathematician made a system that dispensed holy water. But we'll talk about modern, non-religious ones. It all starts with the first vending machine, which, surprisingly, didn't dispense food.
In 1857, the first modern vending machine was patented in England. The machine was designed to dispense stamps, but wasn't popular until the 1880s with the invention of the coin-operated vending machine. W.H. Fruin had patented a machine in 1884 that could dispense liquid from a coin insertion.
The coin would roll through a track and knock a lever that would pour whatever liquid was loaded. Although these inventions were decent, they weren't necessarily incredibly popular. But they opened the eyes of many people and companies who started to realize that this convenience might be an incredible opportunity for change to how food is served.
The first incredibly popular vending machine dispensed gum. Tutti Frutti gum specifically. Starting in New York train stations by 1900, they were everywhere across America, and the major companies would soon consolidate to make a boatload of money. The next major candy dispenser was in 1907 with the gumball dispenser. Over the next few years, more companies started selling their products using vending machines, and in the late 19th century and well into the 20th century, someone would have seen cigars sold among other common items.
Soon, beverage companies started to get more involved in the vending machine game. Although dispensing drinks was not uncommon since Fruin made the original in 1884 and some even made soda on the spot, some other innovations came from the big soda companies. Pepsi created six-pack vending machines, which is still an incredibly popular selling product, and Coca-Cola created cheap coolers to keep their sodas ice cold.
But what about actual food? Although not many companies at the time sold chips in vending machines, after World War II, automats were incredibly popular in cities. Automats were big arrays of windows that had sandwiches and other cheap convenient food behind them, and a customer would have to insert money to open the window.
Automats were popular, but soon went out of style when inflation caused prices to surge. By the 2000s, every single vending machine, besides specialized ones, served cheap food like chips, sodas, and maybe a sandwich if you were lucky, all with credit card slots to appeal to even more people.
Although widespread, in the past few decades they have been under scrutiny, especially the ones in schools. Many states have raised questions as to whether or not students should be able to have such open access to unhealthy foods in school, since they have been identified as a cause of widespread childhood obesity. These same states passed laws banning some junk food and sodas to be sold, and either replaced with no trans fat versions or with fruits and nuts, and healthier drinks like water and seltzer.
Now, most vending machines sell food, but many are selling more complex and luxurious items. For example, Carvana has car vending machines that took over the internet a few years ago, and machines like Redbox rent out movies and video games. But how can this simple idea be pushed further into the future? Or perhaps the better question would be, can it evolve further?
There's definitely so much room for vending machines to grow and change because not only can you literally put whatever you want in it, there's so many new technologies that are being developed that can also be implemented into vending machines that make a lot of sense to put in. I think some vending machines are already starting to use facial recognition to basically remember people and remember their preferences, payment methods, allergies, and age, and how frequently they visit. Be used for companies that say maybe want to make like a royalty system to get people coming back more often, and just plenty of opportunities in that alone. I think some vending machines in Japan can already estimate someone's age and gender and use that information to recommend drinks to them, which is pretty cool. With that, I think vending machines would have to lean more toward more than just being a quick pick-me-up that you just go because it's there and you just, put in your coins or whatever and then get a really quick snack.
Yeah, I agree. I think as new technologies get developed, especially like fingerprint recognition or facial recognition or whatever, that kind of stuff is always going to be implemented because it just makes things a lot easier for people instead of having to carry around a card or something. But I agree with you. I think for those vending machines to be worth it, you need to have more than just chips and Coke products. When we say that, we have to remember that with vending machines starting to become more like, it makes pizza in front of you, or makes ramen in front of you, or brews coffee in front of you. It's all very similar to automats. And I think it's funny because in this time in which we live in, a lot of trends from the 70s and 80s are coming back. Automats weren't really around as much in the 70s and 80s. But I wonder if trends from the 50s will start to come back, like those automats. But I think there's an inherent problem with vending machines making high-quality food. The first thing is that it would be kind of hard to regulate because like when I think about like pieces of machine making food, it all seems a little unsanitary. I guess I don't know, maybe I just have it in my head, which is the second problem, that vending machines are kind of gross. And I think that's the other big barrier that these machines will have to move past, because when I think of vending machine, I don't think of like a beautiful, pristine box. I think of like a gross, rusted tin box in the corner of the airport that has like faded images and super saturated ones. So I think it's going to be really hard to implement pizza machines or ramen machines or whatever super widespreadly. I know in like Japan, they can be common, and there are whole like food courts that are just vending machines. But I think in America, it's just going to be hard.
No, I agree, but I think it's such a shame because, imagine having just a store full of vending machines, which, like you said, already kind of exists in Japan. You wouldn't need to hire much of a staff to serve you. There's little to no contact with other people. You don't really have to talk to anyone. It's a super seamless transaction. And all the things that need to be implemented are like probably to, technicians and people to replace the things in the vending machines after they run out. And vending machines do get advanced. Like I've seen videos of like vending machines in Japan, like the ones you were mentioning before, like making ramen for you, providing hot water and everything. I've seen some that just heat the food up like inside and then just serve you like a hot burger or whatever it is. But I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look that good. And on top of that, like you were saying before with all the, with you thinking that vending machines are kind of just nasty and like unsanitary, I think many people already think of it as sort of just there to be a casual pick-me-up. Like you just, it's as easy as you can get. You literally just insert your money and then pick what you want, and then it comes right out. Like, that's it. You don't really have to go anywhere out of the way or anything like that. So I'm kind of worried that that sort of perception of vending machines that we have in America will stop it from getting as advanced it can get, which I think is pretty advanced.
I thought you brought up a really interesting point about the benefit of having vending machines. And it kind of brings up the question, why aren't there more? Because as you said, you don't need to hire people to make food or even serve it, except for the people that refill it and technicians. And you don't need to talk to people. So why don't we have more of that? I think you kind of answered that with the fact that vending machine food isn't the best. I think the biggest thing is that if you get something made by a chef, whether or not they went to culinary school, they know what looks good on a plate, right? So they know not just how to cook a steak perfectly, but they also know how to make it look good with sear marks and whatever. I don't think vending machines can do that yet. I think, maybe with some coding they might be able to, and some really good AI. But if you look at some really beautiful plates, like, those look appetizing to eat. But if you see, like, a bowl of ramen thrown all together through, like, tubes, it doesn't look very good, mostly because of that. The fact that robots can't really make something look as appetizing. And I think that just builds to the vending machine's reputation. Like, cool, we have pizza made by a vending machine, but it doesn't look great. So I think that they could just be more doomed if more of it started, if they had more of these self-functioning vending machines. But I don't know.
And I think even if we reach that point where it could perfectly replicate a 5-star restaurant's meal in terms of like presentation and taste and everything, I don't think it would take off as well. I think it would initially definitely get that huge social media hype. But for people who actually want to enjoy like a good high-end meal, I don't think it could compare. Because a lot of what you're paying for is the experience. For vending machines, you're not expecting anything. You just put your money in and it comes right out and that's it. But when you go to like a fancy restaurant, you're also paying for the ambiance, like customer experience, the waiters, seating, and just being able to, be there and enjoy in that fancy environment. But with vending machines, you don't get that. And I think I kind of like to think of it as like sort of a crane game, because I don't know, I kind of think of them as vending machines but with extra steps. The difference is that you're trying to get whatever's inside the crane machine, but you pay over and over again, probably knowing that you're losing money, for the experience, for being able to aim it and be like, oh, that was so close, even though the thing itself probably isn't something you want to get. So that really shows like how important the experience is in something, especially like for food, because vending machines lack that. I don't think that in the long term it'll have that many benefits over just staying the way they are, like just being a quick pick-me-up.
So I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I also kind of disagree. And here's why. Have you ever been to one of those vending machines that it's like only drinks usually, but you're like, I want $2.43, and then a little like suction cup comes and it like sucks the thing out of the thing, and then it shoots it through a tube, and then that is so much fun. I could do that like a million times. So I think if you had a really good system and maybe you show what's going on inside the vending machine, that experience could be worth it, especially if that experience is relatively cheap. But at the same time, it's still nice to be served by somebody and sit down for a meal and have something that looks nice consistently. So we both have witnessed something with vending machines, and that is vending machines in school. When we were in early elementary school, we could still get like Snapple or Coke at vending machines. And then very quickly it was only water or chips with no trans fat. And I don't know about for you, but for me, those vending machines always seemed very mysterious. Just because there was this weird change of what they were serving. And for the longest time, I never got anything from a vending machine. I think that also added to its mysteriousness. Like, I wasn't carrying around like a few singles when I was in elementary school. So I I could never go and get something just to see what it was like. But in high school, I've started to do that. Getting chips because school lunch is not filling at all. And there is something very strange about it. Because you look in the vending machine, even though it's supposed to be healthy, you see Doritos, Cheetos, and even like Rice Krispies. None of it has like trans fat and stuff, which I guess makes it like healthier or whatever. It's really strange how some vending machine companies were able to sneak in those kinds of products. And even though it's like, especially in New York State, like I think it's supposed to be illegal to have junk food inside of machines, so there must be some weird loophole in the law that they're going through to do that. So I've always found that to be very strange. What about you?
Oh yeah, definitely. They were all just like the no trans fat, low sugar, baked version of the chips that we all knew. So yeah, it was pretty weird. It didn't stop me from getting it, even though it cost $1.25 for an extremely small portion. To be honest, at times it was better than school food, which on top of being kind of bad, gave small portions. But we already discussed that in our school food episode a while back. But yeah, I definitely agree. It's just like, it's so weird because like everything, all the options are laid out right in front of you, yet to you it seems so mysterious. And they're definitely filled with really like unhealthy name brands like Doritos, Cheetos, and even like Dippin' Dots even. And going back to like what you were saying before about the experience, yeah, I agree. If vending machines made like the dispensing part a lot more interesting, they'd probably get more business. It's really cool sometimes. I remember this one time we were at this vending machine with Dippin' Dots and we were getting some together. You wanted to get one. It was like $4 for a cup of like Dippin' Dots or whatever it was. I think it was like some other brand, but it was basically the same thing. But at first we were like, yeah, that's a bit overpriced. It's a really small cup and it's just, some just cookie dough, Dippin' Dots or whatever. But you inserted your money and the machine, it was like sort of like a suction thing that goes into the box, which is like a freezer to keep it cold, and then like it sucks it up and then like drops it into, where you're supposed to get it from. But what was so funny is that it was like I don't think there was anything in it, so it kept trying over and over again. And we were standing there for like 2 minutes laughing at it, like trying to like get something and not getting anything, and then going to the next box of the same flavor and getting something else. And it was just being so confused for like 5 minutes until you change your selection. And we were at the end, I remember both of us being like, yeah, we paid for the experience. Like that was worth it because of how funny that was. That was just what you were saying before, kind of reminded me of that. But going back to how healthy it is, like especially in schools, you're seeing a lot of these name brands and just seeing it all like right out in front of you, being just right there, sort of creates that perception with junk food that like it's normal, like it's right there, you can get it at any time, which isn't a good thing. And I think to prevent this, a lot of states are already trying to make it a lot healthier. Some cities in California have voted to replace chips and sodas with healthy snacks, and some other places have made it so that around 70% of what is in a vending machine has to be healthy. So we can definitely see those health trends strike again, which makes sense as around 30% of vending machine sales come from schools.
But I think when it comes to health trends and vending machines, it sounds like a good idea. But I think if you try to implement it into a more restaurant-y kind of thing, like we were talking about before, like making pizzas, it becomes not great. And I think this goes for other kinds of foods, probably all kinds of foods, but specifically health foods, because if you look at a vending machine, any vending machine, how often do you think people are using it? It's not like every single person is like, oh, I'm gonna get some chips. Like, no, it's probably like a few people every single day. So if you have like a salad vending machine, that lettuce that's in there probably sits there for a while. and all the produce in there probably sits for a long time. So if you're making like pizza, right, everything can be non-perishable because this is America. You can make things as fake as you need be. But when it comes to like lettuce, you can't really do that. So I think that also poses another limitation, especially for health foods. So I think in that regard, unless some big changes are made to how we're able to keep produce, I think that the vending machines, at least for health foods, will stay pretty much the same.
The reputation of vending machines in America is most likely tainted with images of sad boxes in the corners of rooms, but many countries have adopted full-service meal vending machines, so maybe the idea isn't so far-fetched. But is convenience worth it? Could those machines be better than restaurants? Maybe the fun ways it dispenses the meal could help them reign king. But for many people, vending machines might just be for small snacks, as they always were.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Spoonable Standpoint. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at spoonable_standpoint for our latest updates, link to our website, and other bonus content. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it. We release a new episode every other Friday, and we hope to see you there.